My name is Aruna Katoch, and I have done my MD in Ayurveda from India. And presently, I'm working as a Ayurveda medicine doctor and also holistic health and wellness coach. In this, I help people with their health and their journey towards wellness with Ayurveda as a base. So let's start the session today. And this is the third webinar in the series. And in the last webinar, we talked about that how unique you are, and your system is so unique in terms of the dominance of the element that the digestion process is according to that. So what happens when the digestion gets affected? So this webinar is all about that. So before starting the session, I would just like to ask that, is the sound quality or the audio is good today? Can somebody reply me on the chat if the audio quality and everything is better today? Thank you. Thank you for that. And yes, let's start with this, that what does this mean, unlocking the gut lifestyle connection, and how this is related with the health? Every time in the last two webinars, I have done the step-by-step, starting from the first point and taking it to the last. So this time, what am I going to do is giving you the picture first and then doing the retroward facts towards that, so that we could have some picture in our mind when we are talking of the various steps in this. And if you want to have the recording of this, please do type your email in the chat box so that I can send the recording by the end of this session. And to proceed further, so when we talk about the explaining the things in Ayurveda, Ayurveda always give an analogy, and the analogy which is given is not from the out of the day context. It is always in terms of day-to-day relevance to us, so that we could understand that how the things are connected to us and how easily we can understand this. So today we are talking about the gut and lifestyle. What is the gut? So the food pipe, the food channel inside the body is the gut, or in terminology, the medical terminology, we say it to be the gastrointestinal tract, and in short, we say it to be the gut. So gut is a pipeline inside the body through which the food passes, and then it turns into the liquid which nourishes our various cells and system of the body. So in short, we can say that, as you can see in the picture, there is one container and it is going to supply all the water supply to all these areas. Similarly, there is an area in the body where the digestion takes place, and where the digestive juice and the waste product is separated, and then the digestive juice, which is the nutrition for the body, is being supplied to the various areas in the body. And this is how the fluid keep on flowing inside the body, like the water flows down in the fields when the water is irrigating the fields. This is the other way to understand this, because the body is not straight. It is not like a passage going on. It has different terminals, it has different diversions, and then this is how the fluid from one place is going down into the different places and then to the next channel and to the next channel. So with this, I'm trying to create an image in your mind that how the digestive fluid after the digestion is going inside the body and providing the nourishment to all the tissues. And this is how, when the pollutants from the outside come into this live stream of the fluid inside the body, it gets polluted. And now with that stream, that pollutant, those toxins are also traveling along this channel. And this is what is happening when our digestion gets affected by the various factors, which is not healthy for the body. So with this, I would like to give you what are the things we are going to discuss in today's presentation. First, we have seen in the last pictures, we have seen the connection of gut and lifestyle. So gut is that channel inside the body which is providing the nourishment to the body, and our lifestyle is the one which is responsible to keep it good, healthy, or providing him with the factors which is not healthy for that gut. So lifestyle and gut are directly related to each other. And before going further, let's discuss a little bit about the last session, because in last session, we talked about the digestive system, and there we talked more about the structural aspect. And that was how the different outlook of the body is again the representative of the internal factors. And there we talked about the factors which were space, air, fire, and water, because these are the basic principles in Ayurveda, that anything which is forming the universe is similar, which is forming our body. And they are the unit, they are the structural component behind the formation. And in that, we have seen that how the dominance of one element gives everyone the different external or the body shape, how it is dominating the certain area of the digestive system, how its characteristics and properties affects one's eating style, how it affects what that person should have and what that person should avoid. And these dominant elements are responsible for what will be the common issue that person will be having in his lifetime because of the dominance of that particular element in the body, and how we can take care of that element so that the digestive should work at its optimal level. So last session, we talked more about the structure, and we did talk about that when we talk about the structure and function, it is like a cause and effect. Functions are the effect of all the causes. And in last webinar, we talked about that how I came to the conclusion that everybody is same, every cell is same. And now, as per the anatomy, the modern science, they say that every person, whether he is 200 pounds or 100 pounds, their body weight is almost parallel. There is a difference between the genders, but there is hardly a difference between the weight and the size of the organs when we talk about. Then I talked about that why I thought that if everything is same inside, then what is causing the difference in then? And then I talked about that how I came to this observation that the elements are the one which is differentiating the one person from the other, and why one particular food type is healthy for one person, whereas the other person is having the allergic issues with the same thing. So today we'll be talking more about the functional aspect of the same. And we did talk about the analogy of digestion inside the body. So here we see in this picture that there is a pitcher or a pot sitting on the surface with having fire at its base. And this is a traditional way to cook the food long years back. So in the body, if you see the same thing similarly, if you see the shape of the stomach, this is lying over one surface, which is the large intestine of the body, and in between is the small intestine. And from the school, we know this thing that the small intestine is the one where the digestion and absorption takes place. And large intestine is a place where the reabsorption of the nutrients takes place. Now, let me repeat this again because this is so important to understand that this is a container, and in the body, this is the container where food comes. In the pot, we are putting the things from outside. In the body, we are doing it through the mouth and it is coming down through the food pipe. And then in this container, the digestion starts. This part, the large intestine part, if you see closely, this is very much similar to the surface they have prepared to put that container on that. This surface is hot, but this does not have the properties of fire. This does not have the properties to cook. And inside this is the fire element, the small intestine, where the digestion and everything takes place. And here also, the fire, which is responsible for the digestion. If you keep this thing in mind, our next steps will be easier to understand. So what are the factors which are affecting the gut health or digestion? So I have categorized this into the 4 parts. One is the product, the food. Second one is the processing, all the steps which is taken in the long gastrointestinal tract or the gut, all those processes. The parts, the organs or the system which is involved in the digestion process. And last but not the least is the desire or the mind, which makes us hungry. Sometimes our body is hungry, but most of time our mind is hungry. And this is also one of the most significant factors when we talk about the gut health. So let's start with the first one, what we say when we say about the product. So in Ayurveda, we say the state of one's health, whether it is good or bad, is influenced by 2 factors in terms of quantity and the quality. And what are these 2 factors? This is food intake and the strength of digestive fire. So let's understand that how the food intake is affecting the gut health. When we talk about the quantity of the food, definitely the portion size you are taking in one meal affects the digestion. And Ayurveda always emphasizes on eating in moderation. That means you should avoid overloading your digestive system because it becomes a burden on your digestive fire and it hinders the normal digestion. But if you are not taking inadequate amount of food, even then that affects your digestive fire and there will be various kind of deficiencies seen in that person. So the other point after the quantity is the quality of the food. So when you are taking fresh food, whole food, unprocessed food, that is considered as the quality food for the digestive system. Whereas if you are taking the processed, frozen, canned, or a stale food which you have made long time back and kept in the refrigerator, all these are not considered to be the quality food when we talk about the digestion. And in Ayurveda, when we talk about the quality, definitely if you are eating the food which is as per your body constitution, so only then it supports the digestion and the health of the person. So when we talk about the quality, we need to be aware of this, that it is supporting your body constitution or it's opposing your body constitution. And I can give you a little example here, that having an adequate amount of oil in a food is really good for a person having more of a air dominance in the body, but it could affect the digestion of a person with having the water as a dominant element in the body. So even a simple thing that you need to add the oil in your diet and when to add the oil in your diet is going to support or oppose your digestive system. So if we are having the food or the meal as per our body constitution, only then it comes under the quality of the food, and only then we consider that it is going to support the gut health. And then the second factor we talked about in our health is the strength of Agni. Agni is a word used in Ayurveda for the digestive fire, the secretions which are responsible for the digestion of the food. Because this determines that how efficiently the food will be digested and assimilate the nutrients from your food. This is said that if your digestive fire is not apt and you are overloading your system with the nutrients, having the supplements, and your digestion is not good. So it is similar putting the things into the trash. You're not doing good to your body. Rather, your body will be overloaded with something which the body is not capable to break down. So we have to be very cautious whatever we are putting in our system. So when this digestive fire is robust, it's balanced, it ensures that the metabolism and the nutrients are being assimilated properly, they are reabsorbed properly, and the waste products are eliminated. Whereas when the digestive fire is weak or imbalanced, so this leads to the incomplete digestion, and this will lead to the toxins, formation of toxins inside the body, and that will lead to the condition which we talk later, which is termed as lifestyle syndrome or the lifestyle conditions. Now we are going to see the process of digestion, because we did talk about the product while talking about the food intake in terms of quantity and quality. And now we are talking about the process and the paths together. This seems to be simple, but the simplicity is the key. Once you understand the fundamentals, once you understand that what is the factor which is done in a proper manner can help you live a healthy and prosperous life, I personally feel that you will be more cautious and more aware while doing those things. So first, we'll start with the digestion. Ingestion. Ingestion is when we are putting the food inside our mouth. So what happens inside the mouth is the chopping of that food is done. The bigger bite size is further break down into the small pieces. Like I have tried to show this video that how our teeth cut the food into the uniformly small sizes. But we need to take care of two things here. One is that chewing should be rhythmic. Like you should not be doing it really fast or really slow. It has to be rhythmic. And the other important role of ingestion is to add the sufficient moisture or a liquid to the food so that with the osmosis that food gets softened up. So the saliva is softening the food and teeth is cutting the food into the small pieces. Part is the mechanical process of the digestion. This takes place in the stomach. And you can see in this video that how those small pieces, which is cut in the process of ingestion, is now being churned and is turned into a thick liquid. Now, when we talk about the churning or a mixing here, so I want to emphasize on a thing that in our kitchen, we use various type of mixers. There are certain mixers which are known to be the dry mixer, and we used to have the powdered thing there. We do not need any kind of a liquid there. The second are the ones which we just mix like this, the mixing, we put the things, again, the fluid inside that particular food article is going to help to churn that food. And third type of a mixer is the one where we make the smoothies and the various kind of chutney and other thing where we need to add the liquid into that. So while eating the food, we have to be really cautious that that particular food article which you are eating, how much percentage of water is there in that food, what you're having in that meal. Because if that is dry, you need to have certain liquid along with that so that the food get moistened properly, so that the mechanical process in the stomach should be easier for the stomach, that movement is easier. But if the food is dry, like the grilled food articles, then you are not able to moisten the food, and this overloads the processing of the stomach there. So this is really, really important because the beginning, you are aware of the term that well begun is half done. And in digestion, this is truly apt because if the food is chewed properly, it is moistened properly, it is churned properly, the tendency of getting the outcome is much more better than the condition in which all these steps are not there. Third part is of digestion is chemical processing. What is chemical processing and where this is done? This is done in the very special area of the small intestine where the different accessory organs open up and pour their secretion to break it down more and help to digest that food. So liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, they are the accessory parts of gut. They are not part of this gut. So if any problem is there or any because of any blockage, the secretion is not coming to the system, that is the time when the digestion gets affected. And in certain conditions of liver disorders and in diabetes and the condition related to gallbladder and pancreas, this part of the digestive system is always affected, and that directly affects the quality of digestion inside the body. So in this video, I have tried to show you that how different secretion from different organs is pouring into this part of small intestine and helping it smooth better to find it better, to break it down better. Because this is the area from where the digestive juice will be separated and the waste product will start getting segregated from this. And now we reach to the other part of the small intestine, because small intestine has 3 different parts. So the further 2 parts of small intestines are responsible for the absorption of that finely churned food. Now, the language or the properties of the food is totally different from the food which we ate. So now this is almost turned into the body language of what the cells understand and how they absorb the nutrients. And the last process of the digestion is elimination. And this red color one, which you can see now and which we have seen in the analogy in the previous slides, that this is a part. Now the food is digested, and this part onwards, it will be differentiated. The digestive juice of good quality gets reabsorbed by the body parts, and now from this part onwards, the waste product will start moving to eliminate out of the body, and whatever nutrients which are still there in the system and being needed by the body will get reabsorbed back into the system. Now you will say, why you are saying this, Aruna? We know this. This has been taught from the middle school. This is a simple digestion process. But I would say that our problem nowadays is like we appreciate complicated things more. We always keep on looking outside for the more solution, and we always ignore the simplicity of the life. And that's how we get trapped in those complicated procedures. And I can reassure you, if you want to avoid the lifestyle conditions or the conditions we'll talk, which comes after when the digestion is not in its proper or the optimal stage, that what are those, and you can avoid all those conditions just by focusing on the process. And in the last webinar, I emphasized on this thing that digestion is really a crucial process for the body, because this is the one which is going to give strength to the body. This is the one who is going to maintain the energy levels of you in the whole day. So whenever you have your meal, do not go back to your active life immediately. Give your body at least a 10 minutes break after the body so that it can focus more on digestion and less on the other activities of the body. This seems to be the simple steps, but they are the milestone for the good health. And this is so important. We did talk about the plate, and whenever it comes down to nutrition or talking about the food and the eating habits, we always talk about that the carbohydrate should be this much part of your plate, the protein, this and that. But the most important part is that when you are eating, it should be according to the capacity of the stomach. And in Ayurveda, they gave a very simple principle that just divide your stomach into 3 parts. One part, fill the one part with the solid food. And when I say solid food, it includes the carbohydrate, fat, protein, fruit, veggies, whatever is solid. And then the second part should be reserved for the liquids. And what are these liquids? It can be soups, it can be water, it can be buttermilk, it can be any substitute you're having with the water. And here I want to address a myth. A lot of time people say that one should not take liquid or water with the food, it affects the digestion. Yes, this is true. Just before the meals and just after the meal, the intake of water or the liquid is not appreciated because it affects the digestion. But when it comes down to the mealtime, they have specified the liquids in the diet. If your food meal is liquid or semi-solid, then the requirement of extra liquid is not there. But if your food is more of a dry, then you need to have certain liquid with your food. And one thing which I'm not able to understand, that how having cold drink with the pizza is okay, but having food, water with the food is not okay. They both comes in the category of liquid. The properties are totally different, but I'm pretty sure from my background that water is much more healthier than the sodas we take with the food. So in this, they have clearly stated that the one part of the stomach should be reserved for the liquids because it helps the body to hydrate, it aids in digestion, and facilitate the movement of food throughout the digestive tract. And the last part of the stomach should be left empty so that the movement of the elements, the movement, the working, the elements should get little space to work inside to process that food. And this is a pictorial representation of that, that how the stomach should, it is just a pictorial thing, but with your own intelligence, you can apply this in your day-to-day life. And this is really a crucial principle of eating. And we are talking about the digestion. So what happens when you have taken your meal in the appropriate quantity and quality? How it is reflected. So once you have the appropriate amount and a good quality of food, the hunger is reduced. You feel satisfied. And here they want to emphasize that one should always eat according to the hunger, because if you are doing that, you get that ability to be aware that your body is giving the signals of hunger and being satisfied. And the second sign you will see is a good digestion. And what is good digestion? When you don't have any bloating, heaviness, indigestion, and your bowel movements are regular and clear. It maintains the energy level throughout the day. It's not like when you have certain food, you feel very good and energetic, and on the other time, you feel low and start craving for that food again. Fourth, it maintains your weight, which is very, very important. And when we talk about the weight, so this is not standard as per the age and height of the person. In Ayurveda, we do talk about the body constitution. So here we are saying the weight is maintained as per the body constitution of that person. That person feels more clear-headed and feels more emotionally balanced. And the optimal food quantity promotes the good sleep. And what happens when this not happen? So when the metabolic efficiency, means the digestion of the food in the gut, is compromised, then the undigested metabolic waste is there in the system. And when it stays inside the body for long duration, it turns into toxin, those undigested food particles turns into toxins. And when this toxic substance is accumulated in the body, what happens? It gives rise to the conditions which comes under the lifestyle syndrome or the metabolic syndrome. And what are these? These are the cluster of conditions that are interconnected and linked with unhealthy lifestyle choices. And what are these diseases? Heart diseases or the cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, dyslipidemia, fatty liver, chronic kidney diseases, chronic stress, sleep apnea, obesity, autoimmune diseases, all these happen because your metabolic activities are compromised. All the steps which we talked earlier, those basic 5 steps, when something happens in that flow, that pathway, that is the reason of this. But don't be scared. Fortunately, this is largely preventable and reversible. How? Through the positive lifestyle changes. So yes, we can work on this. We can avoid this. If somehow we are having this, still we have an opportunity that we can improve this up to some extent. But when I was working on this presentation, and this presentation was really going long, and I do not wanted to compromise on the steps what I talked because they are so crucial and everybody knows it. So it goes to the ignorance section very easily because I know if anybody remembers them, they do not come in contact with the lifestyle syndrome conditions. So I have divided this particular topic into 2 parts. In today's topic, we talked about what is the normal processes in the gut health, what makes the gut more healthy, and what steps we should take initially to prevent this. And in second part of this, I'll be talking more about the palliative aspect of this, that what happens when we don't take care of this. And we just talked about those conditions, and we'll take example of one out of them, and we say that how those things happen, what Ayurveda says. Is there any point where we can take a U-turn and bring our health back, or is there are certain options which we can do in day-to-day life to reverse the thing? So I just want to give you a little highlight here of the next webinar, that we all are aware of these main 4 seasons. And in Ayurveda, we highly talk about them when we talk about the wellness. Let me give you a simple example. So right now, the spring is going on. It looks so beautiful. All the flowers, everywhere you see the beauty of the nature everywhere. But do you know how this stage reached? Because of the winters. Because winter is a time when the body is accumulating everything inside. And the moment it gets a little exposure of the sun into it, it starts blooming. And then summer comes, it starts depriving all the nutrition and all the things from it. And by the fall, the things start falling. Winter comes again. The nature start collecting the things again to make it bloomed in the spring. In the body also, the similar thing happened. And what is there? Accumulation is there. then due to overaccumulation, there is vitiation of certain elements in the body. But if we are taking proper care of the body, it turns into the balance. And that's how our life cycle is maintained. And when this balance is not gained back, so we go to the pathway which lead us to different condition in which our body is probably be suffering. So on this note, I want to thank you all for patiently listening. And with this, I would like to end. You can see on this picture, I chose it purposely. You can see how with the gravity, how the water from one field is going to the other, and that's how the small water is nourishing the whole area of that. Inside the body also, we have similar channels, and through that, these nutritive fluid flows and nourishes our body. But trust me, it only nourishes the body when this fluid is healthy, if it's nutritive. But if it's not, then we are circulating the toxins in our body in a similar way. So we'll talk about more in the next session about these toxins and what are the things they give rise to. With this, I would like to conclude and say thank you to everyone for patiently listening. And if you need any help, then I do offer a 20 minutes of session where I can answer your question individually. And this is the link for that. And with this, I would like to open for the question answer session. And with this, I stop sharing and I request Mr. Raja to please help me with the question if there is any questions in the chat box.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna. It was very insightful session. I request participants, you have any questions, please type in the chat box.
Or you can raise the hand and unmute yourself, and we can do that.
Yeah, there's a question from Vipin Sarin. So I just unmute Mr. Vipin. Just a minute.
I just appreciate Dr. Aruna for this valuable information and making all these complex structures to be very simple for us to understand in a very simple language. So I was just appreciating. Question is not there from my side.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can see hands like Manish. Manish, we request you to unmute and ask question. Mary. Yeah, Manish, please go on, Manish.
Dr. Katosh, if you're a vegetarian, is it better to be following an Ayurvedic diet?
Thank you so much for your question, Ms. Mary. The point here is that we should eat the food as per our body type and in the quantities our body needs. And this is irrespective of vegetarian or you are having meat in your diet, but you need to eat the food according to the hunger according to the requirement of your body, as per your age, as per your profession. But Ayurveda supports vegetarian and non-vegetarian, both the diets. I hope I answered the question. Otherwise, you can reframe the question and definitely I will answer that.
No, thank you, Dr. Katosh.
You're welcome. Yes, please.
I can see Manish raised his hand. Manish, can you please go ahead with your question?
Okay, so in that case, you can type the question in the chat box and I can answer that. In the meanwhile, we can take a question from Mr. Whippen.
Yeah, I want to understand when you say solid food, liquid, and air. Does that mean that when we take our food, we should leave some appetite as a signal so that air is there, some emptiness is there, because the signal to body will come later. If you feel full with our food, that means we are actually overdosing ourselves.
Yes, yes. When we say empty, that means we have to eat less than our appetite. We have to eat, we have to stop eating before we start feeling full. So it is really important to eat little less than the body requires so that it should have a proper empty space inside to have the digestion process done properly. So like, this is simple, that we just need to have one part with the solid, other with the liquid, and the empty space will take its job by its own.
When we talk solid and liquid, does that mean we can have some solid, some liquid, some solid, some liquid, it mixes, or we should take our solid first and then some liquid?
It depends. It depends. I can give my example in this. So I cannot have the food continuously without having a liquid intake. I would say your body guides you, or somehow you say it is your habit to take that thing that way, because as per the indication, things are advised to take the small liquids in between just to moisten the food. Here we are not drinking from the purpose of having the feeling of the thirst or having to fill that area. It is just a liquid provided as per the food. If you're having a soup, you don't need any liquid along with that because it is already liquid. If the food is semi-solid, you are having an oatmeal and it is semi-solid. So in that case also, you might need a little water. But if you are having a bread or a veggie or a rice, then you need a liquid in small quantity at frequent intervals so that it should moist the food and help the stomach to churn it down and metabolize it in a better manner.
I think you're right, because sometimes I feel the same rice when I'm taking and somebody's sitting along with me, it gets stuck into my throat or my chest, but other person is enjoying. That means it is a difference between body to body.
Yes, this is what Ayurveda always specifies, that everybody has a different need, and kids know that somehow because their mind is not polluted by the norms and the rules usually. So they only take when they want to eat, and even the pediatrician or the people who are more working with the kids, they enjoy that. Let the kid decide their hunger. Do not force them to complete the plate, but you have to work on yourself, that what is the appetite of your kid, and serve it accordingly. But somehow when we grow up, because of the social norm, because of the the I would say the instruction we get from the people around us, we make certain kind of a mindset around the food. And that is a big reason why this is said that when you are having your food, it should be mindful, right? The area, the space, the environment should be nice. Like you should not be in a hurry. You should sit down on a table to eat. You should have a proper cutlery to eat, because that adds to the value of your eating time. You enjoy that food. And when you're enjoying, you're totally into your food, your body knows when to stop, what to have, the things. So it is having more of the interaction with your body rather than listening to the stuff from the other people or their experience.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Aruna, we have a question from Dr. Jim. Please review Vat, Pitta, Kapha doshas. And similar question from Manish also.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Jim, for this question. And I usually don't use the term Vat, Pitta, and Kapha when I'm talking. And just to simplify, I use the 5 elements, because the Vat component is a combination of space and air. The Pitta is a combination of fire and water, and Kapha is a combination of water and earth. So these 5 elements with their combination turned into Vat, Pitta, and Kapha. And this is the language of Ayurveda. And I have seen this, that when I use more of the Sanskrit terms, it becomes complicated for the people who is listening that. And it is similarly like, serving something which is not digestible to the audience. And because that's not being digested, that is not being applied in their lives. So my purpose is to help people understand the simplicity which is given in Ayurveda for our day-to-day activities, day-to-day life, so that we can incorporate that in our lifestyle. And if you want more, so we can have a discussion on this, or maybe in this sessions or series, will come up to a point where we'll talk about this more and in detail. But right now we are just trying to have some common things which which is relevant for people in their day-to-day life. And yes, how we can find out our body type. So I can definitely help you with this. There are certain questionnaires, and these are pretty lengthy. And when we go through that, we see the person. So then we can differentiate the elements in the body at various levels, at your physical level, at your emotional level, and your mental level. And this is how I help people to decode themselves and understand themselves, that this is what is supporting your body and this is what you need to take care of. And this is the factor, because of this you are having this current condition. And once you have that awareness, once you know those things, you can filter the information loaded to you by the various media platforms. Maybe my information will be overloading for you, but if you know what is required to you, then definitely you can invest a little more time to understand that. But this is a lengthy thing, because it starts from the childhood till the age you are, and we see all the various changes and the factors involved. I hope I answered your question.
We have one more question from Pavan. Pavan asks, you mentioned soda is not good, but what about juice? What are your thoughts on drinking juice?
Thank you, Pavan. This is a very interesting question. When I gave an example of a soda, there I'm not saying anything towards soda. I'm just trying to emphasize there that the stomach should be filled with solid, liquid, and some space is left for the processing of that food. Because you might have seen, like, let's take an example of a washing machine, right? So if you load the washing machine till the top of the washer and then you start the machine, what do you think going to happen, right? The liquid, the everything, maybe if it is not having any kind of a cover, the things will be thrown out of that because there is no space for processing. So in similar way, in that Tridoshic meal principle, I'm trying to say that whatever liquid you're having along with your meal should be in proportion to your solid food, and there should be an empty space left once you complete your meal. This is one part of the question. And second part of the question, when we talk about the differentiation between the soda and the juice, to be honest, soda is not very much recommended because of its composition, the sugar content it have, the carbon content it have, the fizziness it have. Because if you see the soda, juice, or water in 3 different glasses, in a transparent glass, you can see the mechanism going on. So that is a very different thing. And when it comes down to juice is an extract, concentrate extract of the fruit, which is not cooked. It is much more concentrate than the fruit. So if you are having fruit juice alone, it is good. But if you're having with the food, I would not, from my perspective, I would not suggest that, because again, if the quantity of the food is less, then you might can take that in breakfast and lunch, because that time the digestive fire is at its optimal level, especially at lunchtime. But if you are doing this combination at night with some food article, I would not suggest that, because the purpose of liquid in a meal is to moisten the food. But if the liquid itself is concentrate and having lot of, I wouldn't say nutrients, but I would say if the liquid also needs the special time or the extra time for digestion, that liquid should be avoided with the meal. But you can take that other than the meal time. So I would highly recommend, even if you want to have a juice, so you should take other than the meals, but prefer to have water or a buttermilk as a liquid in your meal. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, doctor. I don't see any more questions. So,
okay, with this, I would like to thank you everyone for your time and patience listening, and I hope it helped you with the little understanding. I know everybody might have joined this because they wanted to know more about the lifestyle syndrome and how those things happen and what we can do. And this will be there in the next webinar, but I wanted to emphasize on the digestion more because that is a root, and we are talking about the root cause of the poor health. We need to get the roots. Cutting the branches is not going to solve any problem. We need to get on to the roots so that we can have a control, we can change the lifestyle, and we can walk towards the wellness and bring ourselves from illness. And this is what we are doing with having we as a wellness, and not individually doing for supporting any other thing which goes towards the diseases. And with this, I would like to thank you everyone, and we'll share the recording with all the respective emails which is shared here today. Thank you so much, everyone. And with this, I would conclude the session. Thank you.